The Whispering Forest. I never used to believe the stories people told about haunted woods, strange voices, disembodied footsteps, unseen eyes watching from the dark. I figured people just scared themselves silly being alone in nature. But that was before the trip that changed my mind forever. It was the summer of 2021. Me and three of my oldest friends, Jack, Maya, and Chris, decided to spend a weekend camping deep in the forested hills of Northern California. Jack had heard about a secluded spot near a small spring-fed lake, totally off the beaten path. No cell signal, no other campers, just dense trees and complete isolation. Exactly what we wanted. We arrived on a Friday afternoon, hiked in about 5 miles from where we parked the cars. The air was crisp, the scent of pine everywhere. Birds chirped high in the canopy, and the lake sparkled like glass under the setting sun. It was perfect. We set up camp in a clearing near the water. 2 tents, a little fire pit, and a circle of logs to sit on. That night, we stayed up late, roasting marshmallows and swapping stories under a sky full of stars. There was something so peaceful about being that far from civilization. No hum of traffic, no phones, just us and the forest. But everything changed that second night. It started after we'd gone to bed. Jack and I shared one tent. Maya and Chris were in the other. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I woke up. At first, I wasn't sure what had stirred me. It wasn't a noise exactly, more like a feeling, like a drop in the atmosphere. The air felt heavy, almost electric. Still, then I heard it, whispers. Soft, faint, just outside the tent. At first, I thought it was Maya and Chris talking. Maybe they'd stepped outside to stargaze or something, but the whispers didn't sound like conversation. There weren't full sentences, no distinct words, just sounds, low murmurs, like a distant crowd mumbling in unison. I nudged Jack awake. He groaned and rolled over. "Shh," I whispered. "Listen."
Let's just listen down.
We both held our breath. The whispers continued. Jack sat up. I could feel his body tense next to mine. "They're right outside," he said, barely audible. He unzipped the tent a couple of inches and peeked out. I waited, heart thudding. After a moment, he turned to me. "There's no one there." That's when I realized something strange. The whispers weren't coming from one direction. They seemed to move. 1 second they were near the front of the tent, then the back, then circling around us like some invisible presence was pacing just outside the nylon. We stayed completely still. Then came the moment that made my blood run cold. I heard my name, whispered, directly into my ear, from outside the tent. Not shouted, not spoken, whispered, like someone leaning inches from the fabric, speaking my name in a breathy voice. Jack heard it too. I saw his eyes widen in the dim light. We didn't speak. We didn't move. A few seconds later, I heard it again. This time it was Jack's name, the same soft, intimate whisper, like a lover's voice, like someone trying to lure us out. We stayed frozen, afraid to breathe, afraid to blink. Then it shifted, toward Maya and Chris. I heard the faint zzz of their zipper coming down, followed by Maya's groggy voice. "Hello?" Jack and I bolted out of our tent. Maya stood just outside, her flashlight in hand. Her face was pale. "Did you hear that?" she asked. "The voices?" I said. She nodded. "They were saying my name, like they knew me." Chris stood behind her, barefoot, looking confused and scared. "There's no one out there," he said, but it sounded like a bunch of people whispering over and over. We all stood in a tight group, flashlights sweeping the trees. The forest looked the same, still and peaceful, as if nothing had happened. But the air felt wrong, dense. The silence now too silent, like the forest itself was holding its breath. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. Just sat around the barely glowing coals of the fire, clutching our mugs of lukewarm coffee, listening for any sign the whispers would return. They didn't. Not that night. But in the morning, when the sun rose and bathed the clearing in gold, we found something. Around our tents, in the dirt and pine needles, were prints. Not boot tracks, not animal prints. Bare human footprints. They circled the camp twice, and then stopped. No trail leading away, just stopped, as if the whispering visitors had vanished into thin air. Even worse, the prints were small, like they belonged to children. We packed up that morning and hiked out in near silence. We never spoke about it on the trail. We didn't need to. Whatever happened out there, we all experienced it. It was real. That was 3 years ago. We've never gone camping together again. Not in the woods. Not anywhere. But sometimes when I'm lying in bed at night, with the windows closed and the city humming outside, I'll hear it again. Just for a second. My name. Whispered from the shadows. And I'll remember that feeling, that sickening chill, the weight in the air, and the sense that something ancient and unseen moved around us in the dark. And I know, deep down, it never left.